The morning began like any other episode of Good Morning America, with bright lights, cheerful introductions, and an audience eager to see a blend of celebrity interviews and breaking news. Michael Strahan, known for his calm yet commanding presence, was set to host a special segment featuring rock legend Bryan, the guitarist of Queen. What was supposed to be a casual discussion about music, legacy, and May's continued influence on rock culture quickly spiraled into a moment that no one inside the studio or watching at home could have predicted. The atmosphere shifted dramatically. Bryan May entered the studio with his characteristic charisma, his curly silver hair making him instantly recognizable. He was ready to talk about Queen's enduring legacy, his passion for animal rights, and the new projects he had been working on. Strahan, friendly but direct, asked questions in his usual professional manner. Yet early in the conversation, tensions began to surface. May's mood was slightly off, his responses sharper than expected. The audience sensed that beneath the pleasantries, there was an undercurrent of frustration. At first, the exchange seemed normal. Strahan praised Queen's impact on generations of fans and asked May about his recent charity work. But when the topic shifted to modern music trends and the commercialization of rock, May's tone hardened. He expressed disdain for what he called the plastic nature of today's industry. Strahan attempted to counter with a lighter perspective, noting that every generation reinvents music for itself. That's when May leaned forward, his voice rising, and the sparks of conflict became undeniable. May accused the mainstream media of promoting shallow talent and neglecting true artistry. Strahan, visibly surprised, tried to redirect the conversation by pointing out the positive platforms young artists now had. But May wasn't having it. His voice grew louder, almost echoing across the set. He claimed networks like ABC had contributed to diluting artistic integrity. Strahan defended himself in the program, insisting that their role was to showcase a range of voices, not to dictate culture. The clash of perspectives was heating up. As May's words intensified, the studio audience grew silent, unsure of how to react. Strahan maintained his composure, but his eyes revealed irritation. He reminded May that Good Morning America had celebrated Queen's achievements many times, and that the show respected music legends. May interrupted, cutting him off, and accused the network of only honoring artists when it benefited ratings. The bluntness of his statement sent shockwaves across the set, and producers in the control room began nervously exchanging looks. The argument escalated once Strahan challenged May on whether he was being fair. Strahan suggested that May's criticism was too generalized, implying that he was lumping all media outlets into the same basket. May responded with fiery conviction, saying he had experienced years of misrepresentation and superficial coverage. His voice cracked with passion, and for a moment, his frustration overshadowed the promotional tone expected on morning television. Strahan, realizing the interview had gone off the rails, tried to regain control but struggled. The tension between the two men was palpable. May slammed his hand on the armrest, emphasizing his points, while Strahan leaned back in his chair, unwilling to back down but clearly aware of the cameras capturing every moment. The hosts around the table looked stunned, some even whispering to one another as May's anger continued to pour out. The rock legend accused the show of prioritizing celebrity gossip over meaningful dialogue. Strahan countered with a calm but firm tone, insisting that May was unfairly attacking the team. By this point, the studio crew was signaling frantically to cut to commercial, but the control room hesitated, sensing that the raw drama unfolding might captivate viewers. May raised his voice even more, accusing Strahan personally of brushing aside critical issues in past interviews. Strahan, visibly offended, leaned forward and defended his track record. He argued that his role was to balance entertainment with news, and that May was ignoring the broader responsibilities of morning television. The clash was now personal, not just philosophical. May's frustration spilled over as he began referencing specific incidents from previous appearances on various talk shows, claiming he had been treated like a novelty act instead of a serious artist. Strahan pushed back, saying that viewers wanted to hear both about his music and his personality. May interpreted this as trivialization, and his tone turned sharp, almost scolding. The exchange grew so heated that the other co-hosts sat frozen, unsure whether to intervene or remain silent spectators to what had become live television fireworks. The clash took a dramatic turn when Strahan asked whether May believed any media outlet could be trusted. May paused, visibly wrestling with the question, before responding with raw emotion that trust had been broken long ago. His words resonated deeply, though the delivery was harsh. Strahan, recognizing the emotional weight of the moment, softened his tone slightly, but May wasn't ready to calm down. He declared that artists like him had been exploited, their legacies simplified into sound bites, and he was tired of it. What shocked viewers most was not just the volume of May's voice but the authenticity behind his anger. His frustration had clearly been building for years, and Strahan had unknowingly triggered the release. The guitarist's hands gestured wildly as he spoke, and his face reddened under the studio lights. Strahan, who usually kept interviews light-hearted, found himself locked in a battle he hadn't anticipated. The dynamic was no longer host and guest, it was two strong personalities colliding in real time. Producers eventually cut to a brief commercial break, leaving the audience at home buzzing with speculation. Social media lit up instantly, with viewers tweeting about the confrontation before the break even ended. Inside the studio, tensions didn't ease. May continued to argue his points off camera, his voice still audible to those nearby. Strahan, visibly frustrated but holding his professional composure, engaged him quietly but firmly. When the broadcast returned, the atmosphere was charged, and it was clear the argument wasn't over yet. As cameras rolled again, Strahan tried to smooth things over by reintroducing the segment with a lighter question about Queen's upcoming projects. But May, still simmering, gave only a curt reply before redirecting the conversation back to his grievances. He accused networks of caring only about ratings spikes, ignoring the deeper meaning of art and creativity. Strahan attempted humor to lighten the mood, but May brushed it off, shaking his head. The studio audience shifted uncomfortably, unsure whether to clap or stay silent. The argument reached its peak when May raised his voice to declare that artists like Freddie Mercury had been turned into icons for profit, stripped of complexity by the very media meant to celebrate them. Strahan countered by reminding May that the band's music had reached millions precisely because of exposure on platforms like television. The rock legend shot back that true artistry should never be reduced to numbers. The verbal duel was raw, unfiltered, and painfully real for everyone witnessing the moment. Viewers at home watched in disbelief as the usually smooth morning show dissolved into a fiery debate. Social media hashtags such as #BryanMayMeltdown and #StrahanClash began trending within minutes. Clips of May pointing his finger at Strahan spread across Twitter and TikTok, generating thousands of comments. Some sided with May, praising his passion for authenticity, while others criticized him for disrespecting Strahan and the show. The cultural clash between old-school artistry and modern entertainment was now a global conversation. Back in the studio, Strahan tried to de-escalate the moment by leaning into diplomacy, thanking May for his honesty and acknowledging the weight of his feelings. But May, still charged with adrenaline, dismissed the attempt as sugarcoating. He raised his voice again, insisting that the truth needed to be spoken, even if it was uncomfortable. Strahan's jaw tightened, and though his tone remained calm, his words had more bite. He told May bluntly that attacking individuals wasn't the way to bring change. The audience gasped softly. Instead of calming down, May fired back that complacency was the real enemy, not confrontation. He argued that the entertainment industry had numbed audiences with superficiality, and only raw, uncomfortable truth could break through. Strahan countered by saying that millions tuned into Good Morning America for positivity and balance, not hostility. May gestured passionately, his hands slicing through the air as he insisted that positivity without truth was nothing but denial. The clash now reflected a deeper philosophical divide. Behind the scenes, producers were in chaos. Some wanted to pull the plug on the interview immediately, while others argued that the tension was historic television that would dominate headlines. The director hesitated, torn between protecting the show's image and recognizing the viral potential of the moment. Meanwhile, May's tirade continued. His voice, thick with emotion, filled the studio as he accused networks of turning artists into commodities. Strahan, visibly struggling to maintain control, took deep breaths between responses. By now, May's passion had overtaken the original topic entirely. Instead of discussing Queen's projects, the conversation had become a referendum on media ethics. Strahan tried one last time to steer the interview back to music, but May refused, saying that to ignore the truth would be dishonest to himself and his fans. The camera zoomed in on his face, capturing every crease of frustration and determination. Viewers watching at home felt as though they were witnessing a rare glimpse behind the polished facade Section 8 of television. As the tension dragged on, Strahan decided to switch tactics. Rather than countering May's every point, he leaned into empathy. He acknowledged that the media had indeed made mistakes, even admitting that sometimes interviews simplified complex legacies. For a moment, May softened, nodding slightly, though his body remained tense. Strahan seized the moment to remind May that change came not from explosions on air but from consistent dialogue and reform. The tone shifted ever so slightly, though the undercurrent of conflict still pulsed. Despite Strahan's efforts, May wasn't ready to let go. He raised his voice again, saying that polite conversations often led nowhere and that sometimes outrage was the only language the world understood. His words carried the weight of decades of frustration, his career spanning from the height of rock glory to the struggles of staying relevant in a digital age. The audience, caught in the crossfire of philosophies, sat wide-eyed, unsure whether they were witnessing a breakdown or a breakthrough. Social media by this time had exploded even further. Live viewers were clipping the confrontation in real time, while headlines began appearing online within minutes. Bryan May explodes on GMA, Strahan caught in heated debate, and rock legend challenges media live on air. The debate wasn't just about the incident anymore, it became a global discussion about artistry, media responsibility, and generational divides. May's anger was resonating with some who felt silenced by mainstream culture, while others criticized him for unprofessionalism. Inside the studio, co-hosts finally attempted to intervene. One of them gently asked May to share more about his new book, hoping to redirect the conversation. But May, still brimming with energy, only briefly mentioned the project before circling back to his grievances. Strahan sighed audibly, his patience thinning, but he kept his composure. The moment highlighted how difficult it was to rein in a guest who had chosen authenticity over politeness. The atmosphere remained tense, though sparks of respect flickered between the two men. As the minutes ticked on, May's intensity began to waver slightly. His voice, though still forceful, carried fatigue. Strahan noticed and leaned into this change. Speaking in a steadier, more compassionate tone, he acknowledged May's legacy, reminding him that millions admired him not only for his music but also for his courage to speak out. May paused, visibly torn between continuing his rant and accepting the olive branch. For the first time during the segment, his shoulders eased just a fraction. Strahan pressed on, reminding May that his message might reach more people if delivered with patience rather than fury. He compared May's music, which inspired generations through melody and emotion, to the power of words used with precision instead of fire. The comparison landed, and May's eyes softened. Though he didn't fully concede, he admitted that perhaps his delivery was harsh. The audience breathed a sigh of relief, sensing that the storm was beginning to settle, even if the air remained heavy with tension. The interview wound down awkwardly, with Strahan thanking May for his honesty and May begrudgingly thanking the show for giving him a platform. The usual smiles and polite farewells were absent. Instead, the segment ended on a note of uneasy quiet. As the cameras cut away, the audience clapped hesitantly, unsure whether to celebrate the raw authenticity or feel unsettled by the hostility they had just witnessed. Producers quickly moved to lighter stories, hoping to reset the show's energy before it spiraled further. Off-camera, the atmosphere remained charged. Strahan and May reportedly exchanged words backstage, though neither side disclosed the details. Crew members described the scene as tense but respectful, with both men standing their ground. May eventually left the building without participating in the usual press follow-ups. Strahan returned to the set visibly drained but professional, continuing with the program as though nothing had happened. Yet everyone involved knew that the moment had already cemented itself as television history. By midday, clips of the confrontation dominated online feeds. News outlets worldwide replayed the fiery exchange, dissecting every gesture, every raised voice, and every subtle expression. Analysts debated whether May's outburst was justified or reckless, while fans argued passionately in comment sections. Some praised him as a fearless truth-teller refusing to be silenced, while others accused him of disrespecting Strahan and tarnishing his reputation. The clash had transcended the studio walls and become a cultural talking point. In the days that followed, both men addressed the incident separately. May, through a statement on social media, explained that his anger came from years of frustration with the industry, not from personal animosity towards Strahan. Strahan, on his part, spoke during another broadcast, emphasizing the importance of respectful dialogue even during disagreements. Their statements didn't erase the tension but offered context, framing the incident as a passionate clash of values rather than a personal feud. Ultimately, the confrontation became more than just a dramatic television moment. It symbolized the ongoing struggle between art and commerce, authenticity and entertainment, truth and diplomacy. Bryan May's explosion on Good Morning America was raw, uncomfortable, and messy, but it forced a conversation many had avoided. Strahan's calm but firm pushback highlighted the challenges of balancing honesty with professionalism. Together, they created a moment that will be remembered not just for its drama but for the questions it raised about media, artistry, and truth.